Hey there, book lovers and self-improvement enthusiasts. Welcome to the Wiz Books podcast, where we explore ideas to transform habits, boost productivity, and gain fresh perspectives. Get ready to dive deep, learn, and be inspired. Today, we're all about How Successful People Think by John C. Maxwell.
Oh, a classic choice. And it's been marked up with your notes and highlights so we can really tailor this deep dive to what stood out to you.
Exactly. So no need for a basic book report here. We're going for those aha moments, the stuff that made you grab a highlighter and think, this changes things.
Definitely. And looking at your notes, one big theme jumps out. A bunch of highlighting around Maxwell's idea that success isn't some innate talent. He argues that anyone can become a better thinker, which is the foundation for achieving their goals.
It's reassuring, right? Like we're not stuck with whatever mental habits we've picked up along the way. We can actively choose to think in ways that lead to success.
Absolutely. And he doesn't just leave us hanging with that idea. He provides practical steps, breaking down the process into 11 key thinking skills.
11. That's a lot to unpack. But that's what we're here for. Your notes focused on a few specific skills. So let's start with one that really stood out to you. Big picture thinking.
Great choice. Because before we can dive into specifics, we need that wide lens. Big picture thinking is about seeing beyond the immediate situation, understanding the broader context, and planning for the future.
So it's like stepping back from the canvas to see the whole painting, right? Not getting lost in the tiny details, but understanding the overall vision.
Precisely. And it's especially important for leaders. If a leader can't see beyond the day-to-day, they'll struggle to inspire their team and make decisions that lead to long-term success.
Oh, it's making me think about all those times I got bogged down in the weeds and missed the forest for the trees. But how do we actually cultivate this big picture thinking? It sounds great in theory, but what are the practical steps?
Well, Maxwell points out that good thinkers cultivate big picture thinking by being comfortable with ambiguity.
Okay, that's interesting. We live in a world that craves certainty, instant answers and quick fixes. How can being comfortable with ambiguity actually contribute to success?
Think about it this way. If you're constantly seeking certainty, you might miss out on opportunities that require you to take risks and embrace the unknown. Big picture thinkers understand that not everything has a clear-cut answer right away, and they're comfortable with that. It allows them to stay flexible and adaptable, which are crucial skills in today's rapidly changing world.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about being open to new possibilities and embracing the adventure of not knowing exactly what the future holds. It's exciting and a little scary all at the same time.
Exactly. And this ties into Maxwell's next point. Learning from every experience. He emphasizes that we shouldn't just dwell on our successes. We should also learn from our failures, even the ones we'd rather forget.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It's so easy to brush those mistakes under the rug and pretend they never happened. But Maxwell is saying that we need to confront them head on and see them as opportunities for growth.
Right. He encourages us to ask ourselves, what went wrong? What could I have done differently? And what can I take away from this experience to improve next time? It's about turning those setbacks into stepping stones.
Okay, so embrace the unknown. Learn from everything, even the stumbles. What else does Maxwell recommend for expanding our thinking horizons?
Gaining insight from a variety of people, it's about recognizing that we don't have all the answers ourselves. Big picture thinkers actively seek out different perspectives, especially from those who might disagree with them. They value the input of others, understanding that a diversity of viewpoints can lead to better solutions.
It's like that saying, two heads are better than one, right?
Yeah.
And even better if those two heads see the world differently. We can challenge our own assumptions and come up with more innovative ideas.
Precisely. And this leads us to Maxwell's final point about big picture thinking. Give yourself permission to expand your world. He talks about how society often tries to put people in boxes, stuck in the status quo.
It's like saying, hey world, watch out. I'm not afraid to think outside the box, explore uncharted territory, and dream big.
Exactly. He challenges readers to break free from those limitations, explore new possibilities, and define success on their own terms.
I love this. It's about having the courage to challenge conventional wisdom, step off the beaten path, and forge your own unique journey. But having a big vision is great, but without a plan, it's just a daydream. Maxwell talks about focused thinking, right? How do we harness all that big picture energy and turn it into tangible results?
That's a great question and a perfect transition, because focused thinking is all about taking that big vision and channeling it into action. It's crucial for achieving goals because it helps us harness our energy and direct it towards a specific outcome.
So it's like having a laser beam instead of a flashlight, right? And
Yeah,
really
yeah.
concentrate that energy and make things happen. What does Maxwell suggest we do to improve our focused thinking?
Well, first and foremost, remove distractions. It sounds obvious, but in today's world, it's harder than ever.
Oh, I know. It's like trying to meditate in a room full of puppies. There's always something vying for our attention.
Uh,
But I get it. We need to create that mental space where we can truly concentrate.
exactly. Maxwell also talks about making time for thinking. He emphasizes that it shouldn't be something we squeeze into the leftover minutes of our day. We need to block out time specifically for focused thinking, just like we would schedule an important meeting.
It's like scheduling a meeting with the CEO of your own life. You wouldn't just try to catch them in the hallway between appointments. You'd block out dedicated time on their calendar.
I love that analogy. And just like you wouldn't show up to an important meeting unprepared, Maxwell highlights the importance of preparing our minds for focused thinking as well.
So what does that look like? Any practical tips?
He suggests techniques like journaling meditation or spending time in nature to clear your head and get those creative juices flowing. Anything that helps you declutter your mind and get into that focused zone.
So we've created that mental space. We're ready to dive in. Now what?
Now it's time to set clear goals. Maxwell argues that our minds won't truly focus until they have a target. We need to identify what we want to achieve and break down those larger goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
It's like having a roadmap instead of wandering aimlessly, right? You know where you're going and how to get there, but it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing, is it?
You're right. Maxwell emphasizes the importance of regularly questioning your progress. Are we on the right track? Do we need to adjust our course? Are we actually making progress toward our goals?
It's a constant check-in to make sure our focused thinking is actually leading us where we want to go. I'm starting to see how all these thinking skills are interconnected. It's not just about having a big vision or being laser-focused. It's about the interplay between those different ways of thinking.
That's a great observation. Maxwell is essentially giving us a mental toolkit, equipping us with the skills to approach challenges and achieve success in any area of life. And while focused thinking is essential, sometimes we need to loosen up the reins and tap into a different kind of thinking. Maxwell talks about creative thinking, right? It's not all business plans and strategic goals. There's room for fun and innovation, too.
Absolutely. And your notes show you were really drawn to this one. What did you find so intriguing about Maxwell's approach to creative thinking?
Well, it's all about connecting seemingly unrelated ideas and as we talked about earlier, being comfortable with failure. He encourages us to tap into that playful, curious part of ourselves.
So it's like giving ourselves permission to daydream, to brainstorm without judgment, to let those ideas flow freely. That sounds liberating. Where do we start? How do we unlock our creative potential?
Maxwell suggests taking time to think. I know it sounds simple, but in our busy lives, we often don't give ourselves enough space for unstructured thinking. It's about giving ourselves permission to just be, to let our minds wander, to explore ideas without the pressure of immediate results.
It's like creating that mental playground where creativity can run wild, but it can't just be a barren wasteland, right?
Yeah.
We need to provide some inspiration, some raw material for our creativity to work with.
Exactly. And that's where Maxwell's concept of priming the idea pump comes in. To spark creativity, we need to constantly feed our minds with diverse inputs, books, podcasts, new experiences, anything that exposes us to fresh perspectives and sparks new ideas.
So it's like creating that fertile ground for creativity to blossom. The more we expose ourselves to different ideas, the more connections our minds can make and the more creative we become.
That's a great way to put it. And I love this next point. Surround yourself with other creative thinkers. It's like choosing your brain. Trust those folks who inspire you to think outside the box.
It's the iron sharpens iron principle, right? We can bounce ideas off each other, feed off that collective energy, and spark even more creativity.
Precisely. And it's not just about generating new ideas. It's also about being willing to experiment, to try new things, and to not be afraid of making mistakes along the way. Remember, even failures can teach us valuable lessons and lead to unexpected breakthroughs.
That's where the not fearing failure part comes in, right?
Yeah.
It's understanding that not every idea is going to be a home run, but even the strikeouts can teach us something.
Absolutely. It's about embracing that growth mindset and seeing every experience, whether it's a success or a failure, as an opportunity to learn and grow. But we can't just live in that creative bubble forever, right? We also need a dose of reality.
You're reading my mind. We've got big picture thinking, focused thinking, and creative thinking. But don't we need to balance that with a dose of realism? How does Maxwell address this?
He dedicates a whole chapter to realistic thinking, emphasizing its importance for making sound decisions and achieving our goals. It's about acknowledging the truth, even if it's uncomfortable.
So how do we balance big picture optimism with a grounded understanding of reality? It seems like those two things could be at odds with each other.
It's about doing your homework, gathering the facts, and being honest with yourself about the potential challenges. He encourages thinking through the pros and cons of a situation, considering potential obstacles and even those worst-case scenarios.
It's like playing chess, right?
Mm-mm.
You need to anticipate your opponent's moves, understand the potential risks, and develop a strategy that takes all of that into account.
That's a great analogy. Maxwell isn't suggesting that we become pessimists, but rather that we become informed optimists. Dream big, but with a solid foundation based on a realistic assessment of the situation.
So it's about informed optimism, hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst.
Right.
And this realistic thinking, you said, is actually a catalyst for change.
Exactly. When we truly understand a situation, the challenges and potential pitfalls, we're more likely to take action and make necessary changes to achieve our goals. It's that moment of clarity when you realize, okay, this isn't working. I need to shift gears and come up with a new plan.
And that shift in gears often requires a healthy dose of strategic thinking, which according to your notes is something you highlighted quite a bit.
It's true. Strategic thinking really resonated with me. It's all about planning effectively and executing those plans, turning that realistic vision into action.
So break it down for me. What are the hallmarks of strategic thinking? What does it actually look like in practice?
It's about asking the right questions, tailoring your approach to the situation, breaking down complex issues, identifying real objectives, assessing resources, setting priorities, and putting the right people in the right places. It's having that blueprint for success where you thought through the steps, identified the key players, and developed a game plan instead of just winging it and hoping for the best.
Okay, so no more ready, fire, aim approach. It's about having that thoughtful, deliberate strategy in place. Speaking of strategy, there was something in your notes about Maxwell House coffee.
Ah, yes. This is a great example Maxwell uses to illustrate strategic thinking in action. He talks about how Maxwell House started distributing Haggadah booklets during Passover.
Now, for those of us who might not be familiar, what exactly is a Haggadah?
It's basically a guide used during the Jewish Passover Seder. And here's the strategic thinking part. Maxwell House realized that coffee is a staple at these Seder meals. So by distributing these booklets, they weren't just providing a valuable resource to the Jewish community, but they were also cleverly associating their brand with this important holiday.
It's brilliant marketing. They identified a need and found a way to meet it while simultaneously promoting their product. That's a win-win.
Exactly. And it shows how strategic thinking can unlock unique opportunities. It's about thinking outside the box, seeing those connections that others might miss, and coming up with creative solutions that benefit everyone involved.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already. Big picture thinking, focused thinking, creative thinking, realistic thinking, and now strategic thinking. My brain is doing a mental workout here. Are we forgetting anything? Maxwell had 11 thinking skills in total, right?
Don't worry, you're doing great. And you're picking up on a key point. These different thinking skills are all interconnected. They work together to help us become more effective thinkers and ultimately more successful in achieving our goals. But you're right, we've got more to explore. And up next, we're going to dive into one that really gets the energy flowing. Possibility thinking.
Possibility thinking. Okay. I'm intrigued already. What's that all about?
Well, it's about believing in solutions and increasing possibilities, not just for yourself, but for others as well. It's having that unwavering belief that things can be done, that challenges can be overcome, and that dreams can be realized.
It sounds like a very optimistic way of looking at the world. Is it about seeing the glass half full even when things are tough?
It's definitely about choosing a positive attitude, but it's more than just blind optimism. It's about having that deep-seated belief in human potential, in the power of ingenuity and determination to overcome obstacles and create a better future.
Okay, I'm feeling the energy already. But how do we cultivate this possibility thinking? It's easy to be positive when things are going well, but what about those moments when we're facing setbacks and challenges?
That's where the real work comes in. Maxwell emphasizes the importance of consciously choosing a positive attitude even when it's difficult. It's about recognizing that our attitude shapes our reality. If we approach challenges with negativity and doubt, we're less likely to find solutions.
So it's about shifting our mindset from I can't to how can I? Turning those roadblocks into opportunities for growth and innovation.
You got it. And it's not just about positive self-talk. Maxwell also talks about the importance of surrounding ourselves with other possibility thinkers.
So choosing to spend time with people who lift us up and inspire us to dream bigger, people who believe in us even when we might doubt ourselves.
Exactly. Their positive energy can be contagious, helping us to see possibilities even when we're feeling stuck. And in turn, our belief in them can help them achieve their goals as well. It's a win-win.
I love that. It's about creating that supportive network of people who encourage us to think big and to believe in ourselves. But what about those situations where it's hard to see any possibilities at all? What does Maxwell say about finding that spark of hope when things feel bleak?
He talks about finding the possibility in every situation, even those that seem hopeless at first glance. It's about shifting our perspective and looking for those hidden opportunities.
Okay, I'm going to need you to unpack this one a bit. How do we find possibility in those tough, challenging moments? It's easy to get bogged down in negativity when things aren't going our way.
It's about training our minds to look for solutions, to see the potential for growth even in the face of adversity. Instead of dwelling on the problem, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? What opportunities might be hidden within this challenge?
It's like those entrepreneurs who see a gap in the market, a problem that needs solving, and create a successful business out of it. They turn a challenge into an opportunity.
Precisely. And that kind of thinking can be applied to any area of life, not just business. It's about cultivating that mental agility to see the potential for positive change, even in the most difficult situations.
So possibility thinking is about choosing a positive attitude, surrounding ourselves with inspiring people, and finding the possibility in every situation, even when it's challenging. What else does Maxwell recommend?
He talks about dreaming one size bigger. It's about pushing beyond our comfort zones, setting goals that stretch us, and believing that we're capable of achieving more than we currently think possible.
It's about embracing that growth mindset, believing that our abilities aren't fixed, and that we can always learn, improve, and expand our horizons.
Exactly. And this ties into his final point, questioning the status quo. It's about being willing to challenge conventional wisdom, exploring new ways of doing things, and not being afraid to rock the boat a little.
So it's that spirit of innovation, that willingness to be a pioneer, to forge a new path, even when others might doubt us. It's making me think of those great inventors and entrepreneurs who dared to think differently, challenge the status quo, and ultimately change the world with their idea.
You've got it. And it's important to remember that possibility thinking is a journey, not a destination. We're constantly evolving, growing, and expanding our understanding of what's possible.
This has been so inspiring. But I have to admit, all this talk about dreaming big and challenging the status quo, it can feel a bit overwhelming. How do we integrate these grand ideas into our daily lives? How do we make them practical?
That's a great question. And I think Maxwell would agree that it's not about trying to do everything at once. Start small. Pick one or two of these thinking skills that resonate with you and start practicing them intentionally. Small steps, consistent effort, and over time, those small changes can lead to big results.
So it's about making those small, consistent efforts, those daily choices that over time can lead to significant changes in our thinking patterns and ultimately in our lives.
You said it. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try different techniques, see what works for you, and adapt these skills to fit your own unique personality and goals. Personalize it.
It's about making these thinking skills our own, finding what resonates with us, and creating a thinking style that helps us thrive.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. There's always room for growth and improvement. Maxwell encourages us to be lifelong learners, constantly challenging ourselves and never stop seeking new knowledge and experiences. And, with all this talk about possibility thinking, dreaming big, and questioning the status quo, it's easy to get swept up in the excitement and lose sight of the importance of reflection. That's why Maxwell dedicates a whole chapter to reflective thinking.
Reflective thinking, that quiet time for introspection and self-assessment. It's like hitting the pause button in the whirlwind of life and taking stock of where we've been and where we're going.
You've captured it perfectly. And Maxwell believes this type of thinking is essential for personal growth. It gives us perspective, clarifies the big picture, and helps us learn from our experiences, both the successes and, as we discussed earlier, those all-important failures.
It's like that after-action review, taking the time to analyze what went well, what could be improved, and how we can apply those lessons learned to future endeavors.
Exactly. And Maxwell suggests that reflective thinking can actually increase our confidence in decision-making. When we take the time to thoughtfully consider our past experiences, we're better equipped to make more informed choices in the present.
It's like having a mental library of case studies to draw from. We can see how our previous decisions played out and use that knowledge to guide our future actions. It's invaluable.
Absolutely. And it's not just about analyzing the past. Reflective thinking also helps us connect with our present journey and gain clarity about our future direction. It's about asking ourselves those big, sometimes tough questions. What are my values? What are my goals? What brings me joy? What legacy do I want to leave behind?
Wow, those are some deep questions. It makes me think of that quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." It's in those quiet moments of reflection that we truly discover who we are and what we're meant to do.
And as much as our society values action and busyness, those moments of quiet contemplation are essential for personal growth. Maxwell suggests scheduling reflection time into our week, just as we would schedule any other important appointment.
So it's back to that crucial meeting with the CEO of our own lives. I love it. But let's be honest, it's easier said than done. Our world is full of distractions. How do we actually create that space for reflective thinking?
Maxwell emphasizes the importance of removing distractions, just as we discussed with focused thinking. Find a quiet space where you can truly disconnect, whether it's a walk in nature, a cozy corner in your home, or even just a few minutes of meditation. Create that mental sanctuary.
It's that quiet space where we can finally hear our own thoughts without all the noise of the outside world. It sounds so peaceful.
It really is. And he's also a big advocate for keeping a journal. It's a great way to capture those fleeting thoughts, to track our progress, and to see how our thinking evolves over time. You can look back and see how far you've come.
It's like having a written record of our inner dialogue, those conversations we have with ourselves that often get lost in the noise of everyday life. And I imagine it can be really insightful to look back and see how our thinking has changed over time.
Absolutely. And speaking of dialogue, Maxwell suggests asking ourselves good questions during our reflection time. Questions like, what did I learn from this experience? What am I grateful for? What could I have done differently? What am I most proud of?
It's like having that personal coach guiding us to those deeper insights and helping us connect the dots between our experiences and our growth.
Exactly. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, he emphasizes cementing our learning through action. It's not enough to just think about these things. We need to put them into practice and make them a part of our daily lives.
So turning those reflections into tangible actions, those small steps that move us closer to our goals and help us live more fulfilling lives, it's all about making those reflections meaningful and impactful.
You've summarized it perfectly. And this idea of challenging our own thinking, of stepping back and reflecting, it reminds me of Maxwell's next topic, questioning popular thinking.
The rebel in all of us. Questioning the status quo, challenging those widely held beliefs, and daring to think differently. What does Maxwell say about this?
He argues that questioning popular thinking is crucial for innovation and progress. It's about not blindly accepting what everyone else believes, but taking the time to think critically and form our own opinions.
It's like that little voice inside us that says, wait a minute, does this really make sense? Is there another way to look at this?
Exactly. And Maxwell encourages us to appreciate diverse viewpoints. He emphasizes that no one person has all the answers and that we can learn from each other's experiences and perspectives.
It's like building that mental puzzle again. You need all the different pieces to see the complete picture.
Precisely. Questioning popular thinking also involves challenging our own assumptions. It's about being willing to let go of beliefs that might be holding us back and embracing new ideas that could propel us forward. It can be uncomfortable, but it's where growth happens.
It's like hitting the refresh button on our thinking, getting rid of those outdated files and installing new software that can help us operate more efficiently.
I love that analogy, and Maxwell points out that this can be uncomfortable. It's often easier to go along with the crowd to not rock the boat. But true growth and innovation happen when we're willing to step outside our comfort zones and challenge those deeply held beliefs.
It's like those pioneers who dared to explore uncharted territories, even when others thought they were crazy. Their willingness to question popular thinking led to new discoveries and expanded the boundaries of what was possible.
Exactly. And, all this talk about challenging assumptions and embracing diverse viewpoints leads us to Maxwell's next thinking skill, shared thinking.
The power of collaboration, that synergy that happens when we bring our minds together and work towards a common goal.
He's a huge proponent of shared thinking, believing that no one person has all the answers and that we can achieve far more when we leverage the collective wisdom of a group.
It's like that old saying, 2 heads are better than 1.
Yeah.
But it's more than just the number of heads, right? It's about the diversity of those perspectives, the different ways of looking at a problem.
Yes. And Maxwell emphasizes that Shared thinking is not only more effective, but also faster than solo thinking. We can bounce ideas off each other, get feedback, and refine our thinking much more quickly when we work together. It's like having a team of expert consultants at your disposal.
You can tap into their knowledge, experience, and creativity to accelerate your progress. And it's not just about speed. Shared thinking also leads to better, more robust ideas.
Uh-huh.
When we have diverse perspectives at the table, we're more likely to identify potential pitfalls, consider alternative solutions, and come up with a more well-rounded plan.
Exactly. It's that iron sharpens iron principle again. When we engage in thoughtful debate and constructive criticism, we refine our ideas and make them more resilient.
It's like those team sports where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Everyone contributes their unique skills and talents, and together they achieve something extraordinary. But it's not just about achieving goals, right? It's also about the relationships we build and the impact we have on others.
Absolutely. And that leads us perfectly to Maxwell's next topic, unselfish thinking. It's about putting the needs of others before our own thinking, beyond our own desires, and focusing on how we can add value to the lives of those around us.
This one's close to my heart, too. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected and that our actions can have a ripple effect impacting the lives of others in ways we might never imagine.
Exactly. And Maxwell points out that unselfish thinking doesn't require grand gestures. It can be as simple as listening attentively to a friend, offering a helping hand to a neighbor, or volunteering our time to a cause we believe in. It's about those everyday acts of kindness that make the world a better place.
It's about those small acts of generosity and compassion that create a more positive and supportive environment for everyone. But it's not just about making the world a better place. You mentioned earlier that unselfish thinking also has a profound impact on us as individuals.
It's true. When we focus on adding value to the lives of others, we experience a sense of purpose, meaning, and fulfillment that's hard to find anywhere else. It's that warm, fuzzy feeling you get when you do something nice for someone and see the joy on their face. It's a reminder that we're all connected and that our actions have the power to make a difference.
It's about finding that deeper sense of connection and purpose that comes from giving back and contributing to something bigger than ourselves. What are some of the things Maxwell suggests for cultivating this unselfish thinking?
He suggests putting others first, which can be a real challenge in our often self-centered world. He also encourages exposing ourselves to situations where people are in need, which can help us develop empathy and compassion.
It's about stepping outside of our comfort zones and getting a firsthand look at the challenges others are facing. It can be a humbling experience, but also a deeply rewarding one.
Absolutely. And he talks about the power of giving quietly or anonymously, which can shift our focus from seeking recognition to simply making a difference in the lives of others. It's about the act itself, not the accolades.
It's about the purity of giving from the heart, without any expectation of reward or recognition. And that leads us perfectly to the final thinking skill on our list: bottom line thinking.
Ah, yes. Getting to the heart of the matter, cutting through the clutter, and focusing on what's most important. Maxwell defines it as identifying the essential goal and focusing all efforts on achieving it.
So it's about clarity of purpose, right?
Mhm.
We're not wasting time and energy on distractions or tasks that don't contribute to that ultimate objective. We're laser focused on what truly matters.
Exactly. And Maxwell stresses the importance of clearly defining that desired outcome. He argues that if we're not crystal clear about what we want to achieve, we're likely to wander aimlessly and never reach our destination.
It's like setting out on a journey without a map. You might enjoy the scenery along the way, but you're unlikely to reach your destination if you don't know where you're going.
Precisely. And once we've defined that bottom line, that essential goal, Maxwell says we need to make it the point of every action we take. It's about constantly asking ourselves, does this task, this decision, this activity contribute to my overall goal?
So it's like having a filter for our actions, ensuring that everything we do is in alignment with our ultimate objective.
Yes. And he also talks about aligning smaller goals with the overall objective. It's about breaking down that larger goal into smaller, more manageable steps and ensuring that each step contributes to the big picture.
Like building a house,
Yeah.
right? You need a strong foundation, and then each brick, each beam, each window contributes to the overall structure.
And finally, Maxwell emphasizes the importance of ensuring that all team members are aligned with the bottom line. Everyone needs to understand the big picture, their role in achieving it, and how their individual efforts contribute to the collective success.
It's like having that well-oiled machine where every gear works together smoothly to achieve a common purpose. It's beautiful when it all comes together.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Aligning our actions with our goals, working together effectively, and ultimately achieving something truly meaningful.
So it's about clarity, focus,
Mhm.
and a deep understanding of what we're striving to achieve. And it's about remembering that we're not in this alone. We can leverage the power of shared thinking, unselfish thinking, and bottom line thinking to create a better future for ourselves and for the world around us.
Beautifully said. I think we've covered a lot of ground today, and it's clear that John C. Maxwell's How Successful People Think is more than just a book about thinking skills.
It's a blueprint for living a more intentional, fulfilling, and successful life. It's about becoming more aware of our thoughts, making conscious choices about how we think, and ultimately using our minds to create the lives we want.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Hmm.
And this is just the beginning. The real work starts now when we take these ideas, these thinking skills, and put them into practice in our own lives.
And isn't that what personal growth is all about? Learning, growing, and constantly striving to become the best versions of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Well, on that inspiring note, we're going to take a quick break. But don't go anywhere. When we get back, we'll be sharing some final thoughts on Maxwell's book, exploring some of the techniques you can use to implement these thinking skills into your own life, and answering some of your questions. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. You know, it's amazing how much ground we've covered already. And yet there's still so much more to explore in John C. Maxwell's insightful work.
It's true. We've talked about big picture thinking, focused thinking, creative thinking, realistic thinking, strategic thinking, possibility thinking, and even reflective thinking.
And through it all, we've seen how these different thinking skills aren't isolated concepts. They work together, complementing and enhancing each other to create a truly powerful mental framework.
It's like Maxwell is giving us the blueprint for a well-designed building. Each skill is a crucial component, ensuring the structure is not only beautiful, but also strong, functional, and built to last.
That's a great way to put it. And speaking of building something strong and lasting, your notes highlight another crucial skill: questioning popular thinking.
Yes, this one really stood out to me as well. It's about having the courage to challenge the status quo, to think for ourselves, and to not blindly accept what everyone else believes.
Exactly. Maxwell argues that this is crucial for personal growth and innovation. It's about having that healthy skepticism, that willingness to dig deeper and question those widely held assumptions.
So it's not about being contrary for the sake of being contrary. It's about having that intellectual curiosity, that desire to understand things from different perspectives and to arrive at our own conclusions.
Precisely. And Maxwell emphasizes that questioning popular thinking doesn't mean rejecting everything outright. It's about approaching ideas with an open mind, examining them from multiple angles, and then deciding what resonates with us and what doesn't.
It's like being a detective, gathering all the evidence, weighing the different perspectives, and then coming to our own informed conclusions.
That's a great analogy, and this process can be uncomfortable. It's often easier to just go along with the crowd, to accept what we're told without questioning. But true growth and innovation come from having the courage to challenge those assumptions and to forge our own path.
It's like those pioneers who dared to explore uncharted territories even when everyone else thought they were crazy. Their willingness to question popular thinking led to new discoveries and expanded the boundaries of what was possible.
Exactly. And it's not just about groundbreaking discoveries. Questioning popular thinking can also lead to personal breakthroughs in our own lives. It can help us identify limiting beliefs that are holding us back, challenge those beliefs, and create new, more empowering ways of thinking.
It's like shedding those old, outdated clothes that no longer fit and stepping into a new wardrobe that reflects who we are becoming. It's liberating. But how do we actually cultivate this skill of questioning popular thinking? What are some practical steps we can take?
Well, Maxwell encourages us to start by appreciating diverse viewpoints. He reminds us that no one person has all the answers, and that we can learn a lot from listening to those who have different experiences and perspectives.
It's like that saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. We need to surround ourselves with people who challenge our thinking and help us see things from new angles.
Exactly. And this ties into another point Maxwell makes: challenging our own assumptions. It's so easy to get stuck in our own ways of thinking, to assume that our perspective is the only right one. But if we want to grow and evolve, we need to be willing to step outside of our comfort zones and question those assumptions.
It's about being open to the possibility that we might be wrong, that there might be a better way of looking at things. And that could be really challenging for some people, especially those of us who pride ourselves on being right.
It's true, but it's in that discomfort, in that willingness to let go of our need to be right, that real growth happens. And it's not just about letting go of those limiting beliefs. It's also about being open to new ideas, new ways of doing things, new possibilities.
So it's about that growth mindset we talked about earlier, that belief that we can always learn, evolve, and expand our understanding of the world around us. And it's about having the courage to try new things, even if we might fail. Because even in failure, there's learning and growth.
Exactly. And all this talk about challenging assumptions, embracing diverse viewpoints, and collaborate to solve problems, it leads us perfectly to the next thinking skill Maxwell explores: shared thinking.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Shared thinking, the power of collaboration. It's about recognizing that we don't have to do it all alone. We can tap into the collective wisdom of others to achieve more than we ever could on our own.
Maxwell is a huge advocate for shared thinking. He believes that no one person has all the answers, and that we can accomplish far more when we work together, leveraging the diverse skills and perspectives of a group.
It's like that old saying, two heads are better than one. But it's more than just the number of heads. It's about the quality of those heads and the different perspectives they bring to the table.
Exactly. And Maxwell emphasizes that shared thinking is not only more effective, but also faster than solo thinking. We can bounce ideas off each other, get feedback, and refine our thinking much more quickly when we work together.
It's like having a team of expert consultants at our disposal. We can tap into their knowledge, experience, and creativity to accelerate our progress and come up with more innovative solutions.
And it's not just about speed. Shared thinking also leads to better, more robust ideas. When we have diverse perspectives at the table, we're more likely to identify potential pitfalls, consider alternative solutions, and come up with a more well-rounded plan.
It's like that saying, iron sharpens iron. When we engage in thoughtful debate and constructive criticism, we refine our ideas and make them stronger and more resilient. But shared thinking goes beyond just brainstorming and problem solving. It's also about building relationships and creating a sense of community.
That's a great point. Shared thinking fosters a sense of belonging, of working together towards a common goal. It's about celebrating each other's strengths, supporting each other through challenges, and creating a culture of collaboration and mutual respect.
It's like that feeling you get when you're part of a team that's really clicking. Everyone's on the same page, working together seamlessly and achieving amazing results. And it's not just about the results, it's about the journey, the relationships you build, and the shared sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. And all this talk about collaboration, community, and supporting each other, it leads us perfectly to the next thinking skill Maxwell explores: unselfish thinking.
This is one of my favorites. Unselfish thinking, putting the needs of others before our own. Thinking beyond ourselves and focusing on how we can add value to the lives of those around us.
Maxwell believes that unselfish thinking is essential not only for creating a better world, but also for living a more fulfilling life. It's about recognizing that our lives are interconnected, and that by helping others, we ultimately help ourselves.
It's like that saying, the more you give, the more you receive. When we focus on adding value to the lives of others, we experience a sense of purpose, meaning, and connection that's deeply rewarding.
It's true. And unselfish thinking doesn't have to be about grand gestures or heroic acts. It can be about those small everyday acts of kindness, compassion, and generosity: a listening ear, a helping hand, a word of encouragement. These seemingly small things can make a big difference in the lives of others.
It's about those ripples of kindness that spread outward, creating a more positive and supportive environment for everyone. And those ripples eventually come back to us, enriching our own lives in unexpected ways.
Exactly. And Maxwell emphasizes that unselfish thinking isn't about seeking recognition or reward. It's about the genuine desire to make a positive impact on the world without any expectation of something in return.
It's about giving from the heart, without any strings attached. It's about recognizing that we're all in this together, and that by supporting each other, we can create a better world for everyone. But sometimes, with all the noise and distractions of everyday life, it's easy to lose sight of that bigger picture, that sense of purpose and connection. That's why Maxwell stresses the importance of bottom-line thinking.
Ah, yes. Bottom line thinking, getting to the heart of the matter. Cutting through the clutter and focusing on what's truly important. It's about defining our essential goals and making sure that our actions are aligned with those goals.
It's about having that laser focus, right? We're not wasting time and energy on things that don't move us closer to our objectives. We're clear about what we want to achieve, and we're taking deliberate steps to make it happen. Welcome back to the WizBooks podcast. We've been having such a thought-provoking conversation about John C. Maxwell's How Successful People Think.
Yeah, it's amazing how much ground we've covered exploring those 11 thinking skills.
It really is.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest takeaways for me is how interconnected these skills are. It's not about mastering one in isolation, but rather understanding how they all work together to create a powerful mental framework for success.
That's such a key insight. It's like having a well-stocked toolbox. You wouldn't just rely on one tool for every job. You'd choose the right tool for the task at hand.
Exactly. And Maxwell gives us the tools to approach challenges, solve problems, and achieve our goals in a more thoughtful and intentional way.
But with so many tools, it can be hard to know where to begin.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like standing in a hardware store with aisles upon aisles of options. You can easily feel overwhelmed. So what advice would you give to someone who's feeling inspired by all these ideas, but a bit unsure about how to actually put them into practice?
I think the most important thing is to remember that it's a journey, not a race. Don't try to master all of Evan's skills overnight. Start with one or two that really resonate with you, that you feel you could benefit from developing further. What really jumped out from your notes?
As I was looking back through my highlights, I realized that I'd marked up a lot of sections about possibility thinking. I think that's an area where I could really use some growth.
That's fantastic, and it's a great choice to start with. Possibility thinking is all about cultivating that optimistic outlook, believing in yourself and your ability to achieve great things.
But it's more than just positive thinking, right? It's about believing in solutions, seeing those opportunities even when things are tough.
Exactly. It's about having that unshakable belief that things can be done, that challenges can be overcome, and that dreams can be realized. And it starts with choosing a positive attitude.
So shifting our mindset from "I can't" to "How can I?"
Precisely. And it's about surrounding yourself with people who support your dreams and encourage you to think big. Those possibility thinkers who lift you up and inspire you to reach for your full potential.
It's like having your own personal cheerleading squad. Those folks who believe in you even when you might doubt yourself.
And don't forget the importance of finding the possibility in every situation. Even when things are tough, there's always something to be learned, a new perspective to be gained, a seed of opportunity waiting to be discovered.
So it's about looking for that silver lining, that spark of hope, even in the midst of challenges. It's about training our minds to see the potential for growth and positive change in every experience.
And remember, possibility thinking is contagious. When you start to embody that optimistic, solution-oriented mindset, it not only impacts your own life, but also inspires those around you to do the same.
It's like that ripple effect, right? One small act of kindness, one positive thought can spread outward and create a more positive and supportive environment for everyone.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the heart of John C. Maxwell's message. How successful people think. It's not just about achieving goals. It's about becoming the best versions of ourselves and using our talents and abilities to make a positive impact on the world.
It's about living a life of purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. And it all starts with our thoughts.
It's amazing to think that we have the power to choose how we think, to cultivate these skills and to use them to create the lives we want.
And that power, that choice, is available to everyone. Regardless of our background, our circumstances, or our past experiences, we can all learn to think in ways that empower us to achieve our goals and live more fulfilling lives.
And it's a journey that never ends. There's always more to learn, new skills to develop, and new challenges to embrace. So let's continue to explore these ideas, put them into practice, and inspire each other along the way.
Well said. And on that note, we've come to the end of our deep dive into John C. Maxwell's How Successful People Think. We hope you've enjoyed the journey as much as we have.
It's been a pleasure exploring these powerful concepts with you.
And we encourage you to continue the conversation. Share your thoughts, your insights, and your experiences with us. We're all in this together, and we can learn so much from each other.
Remember, it's not enough to just think about these ideas. The real power comes from putting them into action and making them a part of your daily life.
So go out there and start thinking like a successful person. Embrace those challenges, dream big, and make a positive impact on the world. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, subscribe, leave a review, and share. Until next time, keep reading, growing, and stay curious.